the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours.
For Larry to be here and do this is very unusual because he doesn't do this stuff. He doesn't need it. He does, huh? You don't need it.
What the fuck did you just say?
In only his first week in office, President Trump has completely and utterly tanked his cultural stock and shown maybe, just maybe, the donors of his campaign are actually the ones that are pulling the strings, as we'll kind of connect a few dots here in a second. But data is the new oil. And meet your new data barons, the tech oligarchy, here to make your life safer. Trump has announced a $500 billion project called Project Stargate with OpenAI, NVIDIA, and Oracle. But why is this so polarizing and terrifying? The creator of the company, Larry Ellison, has said this in the past.
Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on. And it's unimpeachable. It's not people that are looking at those cameras. It's AI that's looking at the camera. No. You can't do this. And if there's a problem, AI will report the problem and report it to the appropriate person, whomever we need to take control of the situation.
Fuck him. I had to throw that in there. I fucking hate that guy.
Before making Oracle, of course, he was working on Project Oracle at the CIA, for which then he made the company Oracle, which has no connections to the CIA, for then which the first customer of that company was the CIA.
Yes, in the 1970s, Larry Ellison's first project was a database codenamed Oracle for the CIA. That was the start of his multi-billion-dollar empire.
He doesn't do this stuff. He doesn't need it. He does, huh? You don't need it.
He also was critical of the NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden and was on record saying that Snowden had yet to identify a single person who had been wrongfully injured by the NSA's data collection. So that's Oracle. But I want to talk about something that happened all the way back in last week that I don't think a lot of people are connecting the dots on. Because sometimes the news breaks and you feel something deep down. Your spidey senses start to tingle deep down
Down in my plums.
Because I heard of this story a few months ago about a whistleblower at OpenAI that mysteriously died. He just decided to commit a permanent self-checkout. And I just didn't know what the dots were or how to connect them.
OpenAI whistleblower Suchar Balaji, a 26-year-old researcher, was found dead in his San Francisco apartment.
And last week, Tucker drops the bombshell interview with the whistleblower's parents. And it's oddly reminiscent to what we saw, last year of the Boeing whistleblower? Does everyone remember that one? And while I encourage everyone to go and watch that video yourself, I just want to highlight a tweet that gives us the Cliffs Notes of that conversation. This super genius kid that wants to make the world better, that joins the nonprofit OpenAI, we'll get to that in a second, and help build ChatGPT, discovers that it's rife with illegal and unethical activity. He quits and turns himself into a whistleblower. And then he permanently checks out of life right after a birthday vacation by shooting himself in the forehead at a 40-degree downward angle. His browser history shows him researching future projects and scheduling plans the night that he died. The apartment shows signs of struggle, blood in multiple locations, and mystery hair coming from a wig. And the cops rule out foul play in a 12-minute investigation. But as his mother points out in the Tucker interview itself, this was all over, copyright law?
So to be clear, you think this is not simply about OpenAI stealing, copyrighted material. There's more than that.
More than that, 100% sure. These companies, they get many lawsuits like this, right?
Sure.
Do they really care about it? No.
What is the kind of thing they do care about?
Stealing some data that against that could cause a violation, possibly. They might be stealing some data.
From the U.S. government, from other government?
Something like that. Maybe government is involved. We don't know. We're speculating.
And I should also mention that there's just some weird happenings with the coroner of the whistleblower as well.
He's now being sued, and this is a bizarre story. He's now being sued for throwing out evidence, specifically a skull, and retaliating against an employee who wanted to out him. Sonia Komenik Adachi alleges in a lawsuit filed Monday that she was terminated from her job as a death investigator after finding out that the executive director of the office, David Serrano Sewell, may have inexplicably tossed the skull while rushing to clean up the office ahead of an inspection.
And also there's some huge controversies over the fact that OpenAI is not so open anymore.
In 2015, the company was founded as, quote, OpenAI nonprofit, and the goal was to build, quote, safe and beneficial artificial intelligence for the benefit of humanity, end quote. But now, in 2024, the plan is to restructure its core business model into a for-profit benefit corporation, and it's to no longer be controlled by its nonprofit board.
Remember, Elon Musk is currently suing OpenAI for marketing themselves as an open source, ethical, nonprofit AI development company, and then transforming themselves into a closed source, unethical, for-profit AI development empire that is working to develop technology that will benefit everyone all around the world.
OpenAI, however, have defended the shift. Not only that, but they've publicly released a timeline for alleged proof that Elon wanted OpenAI to be a for-profit company from the start.
And there's some rather interesting characters on their new board of directors.
First, we have Sue, the former CEO of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, also a board member of Pfizer. But for some reason, when the White House wanted to write her bio, they thought that her two most prominent positions shouldn't be on this page. The crown jewel, Larry Summers, former U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, former chief economist at the World Bank. He was heavily involved in repealing Glass-Steagall, which is what allowed banks to gamble with all of our money in the stock market and cause the crazy bubbles and the crazy crashes that we've seen since. He was instrumental in both setting the stage for the '08 financial crisis, and then he was instrumental in the government allocation of our tax dollars to bail out his friends in the banks. I can't think of anyone that I would want farther away from the ethical development of AI than Larry Summers.
This is all just copyright law? The company that provides ChatGPT to people? But then that's where you kind of find out that, like most of Silicon Valley, that's not really where a lot of these companies make their money. Most of their contracts come from enterprise integrations and defense contracts. So that brings us up to speed on where I was thinking when I saw this interview with Tucker and the whistleblower's family. And it's also where it gets incredibly frustrating and interesting to look into some of these tech companies, because we're told these people are they're so incredibly smart. They're not like us, and they can just see the future, and their companies predict what we want, and they get incredibly successful and incredibly wealthy because of it. And then you realize that actually these companies, the only time they ever turn a profit is when they get funded by an alphabet agency from the government. Like the only time that Amazon actually made a profit was when it got a $600 million contract from the CIA. And Oracle, like I mentioned earlier, how it was a private company, but also was a project with the CIA, it was funded by In-Q-Tel.
In-Q-Tel is the investment company for the CIA.
And it also funded another massive data collection company called Palantir with Peter Thiel. More on him in a second. And then you find out that OpenAI couldn't survive as a nonprofit and it had to switch to a private company.
According to a few sources, quote, it costs $700,000 per day to keep ChatGPT chugging along. And OpenAI has reportedly invested close to $7 billion on training ChatGPT and another $1.5 billion on staffing, end quote. Despite generating an impressive $3.7 billion in revenue, the company expects a $5 billion loss this year. Other analysts predict that annual losses could balloon to $14 billion by 2026.
And then it turns into a private company, and we get our new board of directors. And then, lo and behold, as no one saw coming, they get a $500 billion government contract. OpenAI, NVIDIA, and Oracle.
I feel shocked.
And as data is the new oil, would these people let anything threaten that? How far would they go to secure these government contracts? Effectively, these tech companies are privatized versions of government programs like the Total Information Awareness Program. And these tech oligarchs just use their immense power, their technical power, their financial power to buy these government contracts. And with these defense contracts, they can install their software into these systems and effectively do the same thing they warn us about in China and Russia and stuff, like government social credit system, that's bad. Government CBDCs, that's bad. Tech, social credit, data tracking, Overlord, Overwatcher, Big Brother, that's good. Basically, they moved the entire surveillance state apparatus from the public sector, from the government, because there was such immense backlash of the government tracking everything that we do, obviously.
That's fucking illegal.
So what did they do? They just privatized it and they moved everything into private companies like Palantir, like OpenAI, like Oracle. And through these massive defense contracts, they effectively just will accomplish the same things and same goals without any pushback from the population. Because A, they might not know about it, but B, we think that governments are doing something that's bad, but private companies, they can do whatever they want. Who cares? But the massive thing about it is these are private companies that are doing this, that are getting these contracts. So these private companies get contracts with the government. The government allows them to what? Take all of our data and do whatever they want with it. And then the government can then use that in any particular way to do what they will to us with that information. Did we sign up for any of this? Did we vote for any of this? Did we ask for this? Did we consent to this? What is going on here?
I feel like grabbing you by your ears right now and screaming in your face, I'm not fucking interested.
And this is being sold to us as like preventative healthcare. And it's like, you know what would actually prevent any of these issues, massive health problems? If we had actual food. If there wasn't chemicals and pesticides sprayed in our food, if chemicals weren't the majority makeup of the food in the supermarket currently. If we weren't stressed out because the dollar is so inflated because of all of the things that Larry Summers and some of these people do to us. That would actually help people become more healthy. But it's like, no, what we actually need to do is spy on you, take all of your information, and then be able to make preventative healthcare measures to do that, and then perform those preventative healthcare measures to you, maybe against your will or without your consent. So effectively, this is a big fuck no.
Why don't you go fuck yourself? Suck my big fat fucking sausage!
And really, it's really showing the massive ties that these tech oligarchs have into the current Trump administration. Because you remember that Peter Thiel that I was mentioning earlier? Well, he runs a similar company to Oracle called Palantir. And the name Palantir comes from Lord of the Rings, which essentially is this thing called the Overwatcher, or that can see all. You see how it's the same thing here? Well, when he was younger, he went and did a talk at one of the Ivy League schools. And a young whippersnapper in there, he took a real shine to him. And Peter Thiel then gave that individual a job at one of his capital investment firms. And then he also gave him money to start his own firm. And then this young kid wanted to run for politics. And he wanted to run for the Senate. And then Peter Thiel funded his Senate campaign, which I believe is still the biggest donation ever to a Senate campaign. And then that person also wanted to become the vice president of the United States. And that kid turned out to be J.D. Vance, the current vice president of the United States of America. Oh, and that same Peter Thiel, who runs Palantir, and Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, that just got this contract, they were at Y Combinator together. And Y Combinator is just one of the biggest angel investment firms for tech startups and things like that. They were there at the same time. And I just wonder if they ever talked about what they were working on at the time that they were there. Anyways, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. I would be flabbergasted if most people either even know about this or want something like this to actually go through. So thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Support links are in the description. See you next time.